Hi, I'm State Senator Kevin Parker. I represent the 21st District in Brooklyn, New York, which is Flatbush and East Flatbush, Midwood, Ditmas Park, Kensington and Borough Park. And welcome to a report from the State Senate. Today I'm really actually excited because I have a guest I've never had before. In fact, we just met moments ago. And we're going to be talking about, something that I think is critically important for all of us, particularly now in the 21st century, which is cyber security. Some of you have seen the movie The Net with Sandra Bullock, or you've seen some other movies where things happen to a heroine or a hero through the computers, and many of these things unfortunately are very real, particularly now in a digital age that we live in, with everybody having laptops, PDAs with access to the internet and real-time abilities. That cybersecurity is something that's really at the forefront of what we're dealing with in terms of public protection here in the state of New York. And so today, my guest is William F. Pelgrin, who is the Director of Office of Cybersecurity and Critical Infrastructure Coordination. It's an office through the governor, and he has joined us today, and I wanted to welcome you, Director, for joining me today.
Senator Parker, thank you very much for having me. It's a real pleasure to be here.
Hope I didn't murder your name too
much.
Nope,
actually it was perfect.
Okay,
thank you.
Good. So tell us a little bit about you and about how you wind up to be the Director of Cybersecurity for the state of New York.
It's a long story, but I'll give you the short version of that. I've been in government for 27 years. I served under 5 governors. I served at the pleasure of those 5 governors. It's been really a pleasure to be a public servant. My early career was, I'm a lawyer by education, and I started in the criminal justice field. So I actually started in the sort of the physical side of the house. I was counsel to the Commission of Correction. I became the first deputy at what was at that time the Division for Youth, so I ran the secure juvenile facilities for the state. And then my career path changed a little bit. I became part of a task force to start what now became the Office for Technology. And after its first year, I became its director. So I ran the Office for Technology for a number of years. And I ran it through the horrific events of 9/11. And as that tragedy occurred, we were all impacted by it, and we all had, I think, reflections about what one was going to do with their life. And as the chief technology officer for the state at the time, I really sat back and said, what do I want to do if I'm fortunate enough to continue to serve in government? Where can I make a real difference? What can I do to have an impact? And literally on pieces of white paper, I drew out an agency. That agency was Cybersecurity and Critical Infrastructure Coordination. I brought it to the governor's office. They blessed it, and we went forward.
So you created your own job.
That's right, exactly. Yeah, I didn't even think about it that way, but yes. And the purpose was that I was really seeing, I had been reading quite a bit about what was going on in the cyber arena, and that the operational side of the house was really in conflict with the security side of the house. And from that I mean that when I ran the Office for Technology, I was responsible for making sure checks were cut and that applications were running and everything else. And while there's a security component to that, it always sort of took secondary place to the security concerns. So I advocated that we really needed to have an agency that was single-focused, really looking at these on a day-to-day basis. I was not clairvoyant of what we're facing today, and it has changed dramatically since the early days.
Yeah, but you really were on the cutting edge of cybersecurity, and even though you might have envisioned it was going to go as far as it has, it's a good thing that we had you around to do that. That's great. Tell us about the office and kind of the direction that you guys are headed in.
Well, it's very small and intentionally small. We do 2 parts, the cybersecurity and the critical infrastructure, and I think most of our time today will be on the cyber side. The other half is on critical infrastructure coordination. Luckily, I'm not responsible for protecting that. It's really coordinating the data sets that are associated with all our critical assets and mapping them to a geographic information system.
What does that mean? For people who don't know computers.
That's and sadly, even though I'm a lawyer, they have called me a geek in the past, which is scary. It's taking our critical assets and making sure that we know where they are in the state, that we can map them both geographically but also tabularly, and have all the data that's associated with it. So, for example, in your district, you could ask me to, we have a very sophisticated, very secure application. You could query that system and say, tell me every business that has an employer of 5 or more in my district. Or you could ask me about nursing homes, or you could ask me about child care facilities. And we can very quickly, in a matter of in seconds, bring that information forward to you and give you all the data that's associated with it. How many kids are at those daycare centers? And it's important, especially for emergency response, when you're looking at a potential, it could be a natural disaster as well as a man-made one, where you want to know where your critical assets are and how you're going to handle those responses to that.
So are these your own data sets, or do you have a computer that's linked into, Department of Children and Family, and you're getting, let's say, the daycare information from them, or Department of Business Services, and you're getting the business information from them? How does that work?
That's a great question, and it goes back to why I wanted the agency to be small. This is about collaboration and cooperation. Mm-hmm. You come into my office on a board that had a whiteboard back in 2002 when we were created. I wrote down our principles, those really fundamental areas of what I wanted to live by. And collaboration and cooperation are the first 2 words on it, and it talks about customer focus. It talks about a whole host of principles of conduct that we wanted to make sure that we embedded into this agency. So we're very small. So our relationship is with others, and the only way we're going to be strong is that it's a team effort. So we have relationships with all the agencies that maintain that critical information, and then we bring that critical information in-house, and we have a repository that allows for appropriate individuals to access that information.
Okay. And so, so you have a few appropriate individuals who have, like, secure clearance to access these different...
Or clear, not in the sense of the classical clear, but yes, they are cleared through, the Office of Homeland Security, or for others to have access to it. It's all working off the same data for emergency response, which is absolutely essential.
All right. Excellent.
But on the cyber side of the house, we're very small. And actually, for what people have said about us is that they think we have a large staff, and I said, no, we're very small. We just run really fast, and you think there's more of us than there's not. Again, collaboration and cooperation is essential. We believe that this doesn't have to be about mandates. This is really not about fault. There's so much that's going on in the cyber arena that we really are the good guys, and we're really trying to do, we meaning the state agencies, everybody within the government. And it's really one that the threats are increasing exponentially, that we will get hit. We have been hit. We will, what's our goal is that we can go to the governor and to you and to others to say we've done everything possible in our due diligence to make sure that we either can prevent that or mitigate any consequence of it. And, I'll knock on wood, we have been very successful today.
So part of what you're responsible for, let's say, the firewalls for the agencies, around the state, and making sure that people don't hack into our systems, get access to, important data, is that kind of thing?
Yeah, more the latter than the former. I'm not responsible for the firewalls. That's a real operational issue. Okay. And I really believe that security is a local issue, meaning that this was not a consolidation. This wasn't trying to bring all the security people into one agency. It's really an empowerment to say we needed to go down a common road. We really needed to follow a enterprised approach to this and a common approach to this. So what we did was every agency now has an information security officer. That information security officer, by policy, needs to report to somebody in the executive of that agency. All too often, that person was buried in the organization, if they even had one. And by buried, that their voice was never heard. So when there was a question of whether or not a operational issue could be delayed because of a security concern, that voice never got heard. Now it's being heard. We have to ensure that that voice is loud and clear. Excuse me. It doesn't mean security wins in every case. It just means that an executive really balances out the risk, the threat, the consequences, and then the benefits of going one way or another and making a decision. And in the past, that